Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Laura Thorson. Most people spend a lifetime trying to figure out what makes relationships work, what gives life meaning, and why some people seem successful on the outside but struggle behind closed doors. Today's guest has spent nearly 2 decades helping people answer those questions. Quentin Hafner is a licensed marriage and family therapist, high performance coach, husband, father, and the author of Black Belt Husband, a book that challenges men to approach marriage leadership and personal growth with the same discipline and intentionality required to earn a black belt. Through thousands of hours working with individuals, couples, entrepreneurs, and leaders, Quentin has gained a unique perspective on masculinity, on relationships, on purpose, and what it takes to build a life that thrives both at home and in the world we live in. Today, we're talking about the lessons he's learned from years spent helping people become the best versions of themselves. If you don't want to miss another episode, head to defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. That way, every new episode gets delivered straight to your inbox. And if you're looking for top-tier firearms and self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and check the calendar to see what's coming to your area this year. I have to admit, when I learned about you, I was surprised. Okay, I've watched you on some podcasts, and I was surprised to see such a man's man be a therapist, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, perfect.
It's not the stereotype that goes into my brain whenever I think of a therapist. And I think a lot of people have sort of a bad taste or maybe a stereotype, about that. And so I want to get to your book, but first I want to get to like 20 years in this field.
Yeah. Too many years.
Is it though? I mean,
well, it's like it's a lot of years of sitting with people and kind of going down that road. But I joke around. I love my job. I'm going to do this work until the day I die. I'm very blessed to get paid to do what I love. So I joke that it's kind of a wacky job just because you're with people and you're talking about really crazy things, but I love my job. I wouldn't do anything else in the world. This is what God has put me on the earth to do. And to your point about being a manly man in this field, it's like, well, thank you, because that really is such a great compliment to me, because the truth, you're absolutely right. In California, the ratio of therapists, male to female or female to male, is 4-1.
Wow.
So and that's kind of a national ratio too, but that's specific to California. And then the truth is, nobody likes to talk about this, but this is just the truth. The truth is, all the guys that are therapists are total beta. And if you're like a normal dude, like a guy's guy, you don't probably want to see a woman to help you, and you definitely don't want to see that beta guy. So where do those guys go?
Nowhere, probably.
They don't go anywhere, and that's really the tragedy. And so I love to kind of stand on that like pillar of just being traditionally very masculine. I know you're a big shooter. I love guns. I have a massive gun collection. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I think that there's so much value in helping guys get healthy from a mindset and their emotional world too. And so there's a place to be both. And unfortunately, that's not role modeled very good in our culture.
Totally agree. I actually think it's an epidemic in our culture that the manly men in our culture are silent. And I'm not a manly man, so I don't know, but I know some manly men. And in my perspective, at least, what I think might be true, and you would know better than I, is that if they have to choose between a beta male or a female to go talk to about their emotions, they're just not going to talk about them.
They're not going to go.
Yeah. And what a horrible disservice to those men, I think. It actually really fires me up to think about it.
It fires me up too. And like I said, it's a little bit of a soapbox of mine. That's why I like, in all of my kind of messaging and marketing and stuff to the world, I really try to promote my masculine self. Like, hey guys, like you can be this way. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to feel. It's okay to have a softer side. You don't have to lose your masculine edge. You could be a total badass. You could like to fight. You could like to shoot things. You could like to blow things up. And if you could just incorporate this other part of you just a little bit, it's going to be absolutely helpful and transformative for you. And that was really my story too. Like I've always been a real kind of like dude's dude. And then I went through a divorce around when I was like 29. I found myself in therapy, and I realized that there was so much that was missing in my world, in my internal world, that led to me getting a divorce. And I'm like, man, if I didn't know all this stuff, there's like a whole bunch of other people that probably don't know this stuff too. And I kind of went on a journey of eventually becoming a therapist to try to serve those guys that were ultimately like me.
And that's where the book came from, right? That same mission.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me how this book is different from other books that might be in the same genre.
Well, it's different in the sense of kind of what we were just saying too. Like, I remember I had this experience of going to this like couples therapy training. It was kind of early on in my profession. And I was sitting through this training, and, just sitting through this training, I'm kind of like the only kind of like guy there or whatever. It's already kind of awkward, but listening to this lady who was giving the training, I had this thought of like, none of my guy friends would buy into what she's saying. None of them. Like, it was way too soft. It was way too feminine. It was way too touchy-feely. And then I just had that thought of like, wow, well, what if I wrote like a marriage book for guys, and I kind of try to make it more appealing to kind of like the masculine soul, And so that's why I wrote Black Belt Husband. So I'm a big jujitsu geek. So I just used the kind of like the jujitsu kind of framework and said, okay, I used like, so what I did is I used jujitsu as a metaphor for marriage. And I showed how they're really similar actually in a lot of ways. And then that book did really good. It really it didn't blow up. It wasn't a New York Times bestseller, but in my little world, it really blew up because a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, like this is really cool. Like, like the guys liked it, and like women were giving it to their husbands, and their husbands actually wanted to read it because they're like, oh, what's this? Okay, I'll try it. As opposed to everything else that was out there, the guys had no interest in. So.
And probably taking the approach with jujitsu as training, as building blocks and steps. There are certain foundational skills that you have to learn in that training and be committed to measuring that and having leadership in that capacity. So does your book reflect that as well? Like giving them a framework and a path, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, the book's laid out in like, okay, like what does it look like to be a white belt husband? And there's like 3 core skills that you have to master to get your blue belt.
Yeah.
It's kind of corny and it's kind of cheesy, but a lot of guys had fun with it. And then there's like 3 other skills to be able to get your purple belt, and then your brown belt, and then what does it mean to be a black belt? Yeah. So I kind of walk the book through these like core kind of skills. Yeah. That in my world, these are the things I just kept running into. I'm like, okay, because I've worked with thousands of husbands, and husbands, being a husband is a skill set. And that's the thing I love explaining to guys. It has nothing to do with like your self-worth. It has nothing to do with good genes. I mean, I come from the most like awful genes when it comes to like relationship health in my family. And I always tell guys, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. Yeah. And so husbands, it's probably just like shooting, right? There's a skill gap. Okay. And it's the same with being a husband. So like, I thought to myself, like, okay, I've worked with all these guys, and there's some really, really horrendous husbands. And I kind of categorize those guys like, those are like the white belt husbands. And what made those guys so bad at being a husband? Okay, they didn't have these basic skills.
But did they think they're a black belt? Do they have Dunning-Kruger going on?
Well, okay, it's a great question. Okay, because skill number 2 in the white belt journey is humility. Okay, like you cannot go to the blue belt step unless you're totally humble with your ability to say, I don't really know what I'm doing. Right. And that's the same with jujitsu. We talk about that in jujitsu all the time. Like, and jujitsu has a way of just kind of like humbling you right away. So you don't really, you learn really fast that you don't really know much of anything. Husbands need that humbling process too, of like, oh geez, I thought I was doing a good job. I thought I knew how to be a husband. But what the marriage is the humbling aspect, if guys can see it that way, because it's like, hey, like
perspective.
Yeah, you're really, if you were such a great husband, if you were such a trophy husband that you think you are, if you were really the prize that you think you are, your wife wouldn't be showing up the way she is. And that's because your wife is just a mirror to you.
Right. So what is one of the most common skill sets that you see lacking in people that you see on a regular basis?
When it comes to marriage, and just kind of like still kind of sticking to this theme of like the black belt husband stuff, when it comes to marriage and guys specifically, the number one skill that is totally missing for men in marriage today is leadership.
I didn't think you were going to say that.
Yeah, that's like that's it. That's
leadership.
Leadership, yeah, and that's something that you will not read in any marriage book written.
That could mean different things to different people. So could you unpack that a little bit further?
Sure. So my definition, or our definition inside Black Belt Husband, we have two kind of like sandwich definitions for leadership. So leaders do two things. Number one, they bring out the best in other people. All great leaders bring out the best in other people. And number two, leaders take full responsibility for the success or for the failure of whatever they're leading. And what we show men is that when what we show guys is that until they assume the leadership role under those definitions inside the marriage, their marriage is totally doomed. They will not make it. Even if they stay together, they will be miserable for life. And when guys can make the mental shift and take full responsibility for the marriage, and there's a really key distinction. Okay. So when I say that I'm the leader of my marriage, I'm not the leader of my wife. My wife is a very smart, capable, competent person. I don't need to lead her, but I lead our marriage. So my perspective is that my marriage will either win or die on my watch. Okay. I don't look to my wife for anything. I don't look to her to make it better. I take full respect. It's like saying that I'm the CEO of a business, right? And if I'm the CEO of a business and the business fails, I don't blame Sally in the accounting department because she didn't do the spreadsheet right. Great CEOs say, hey, this business isn't working and it's all my fault. I'm not leading it well.
So that's different than the perspective of, if they would just XYZ, then we wouldn't be having this problem. If they would just, I'm sure that's a common theme possibly.
This is why marriage counseling, in my opinion, this is just why marriage counseling doesn't work. Okay. This is why people go to marriage counseling and basically spend a lot of time and money and they just go in circles. Because what marriage counseling does, traditional marriage counseling says, okay, Laura, what you need to do your 50% and I'm going to do my 50%. And as long as you do your 50%, I do my 50%, then our marriage is going to be really good. But what happens is for people is they say, well, Laura's not doing her 50%, so I'm not going to do my part. Okay. And it gets into this thing where it becomes like most marriages fail because it becomes a power struggle and the marriage becomes conditional in the sense of, well, it's like my wife's like, I want you to be a better husband. And the husband says, cool, I will be a better husband as soon as you start being a better wife. And the wife says, well, I'll start being a better wife when you start being a better husband. And I would say, I can't say exactly statistics, but just in my hunch is that 80 to 90% of all couples walking the earth right now are caught in that trap. because it's a human trap. It's a human nature trap. It's like I have a 13-year-old son and I have a 10-year-old son, and they do that with each other. You know, it's like, I'll be a better brother when you're a better brother. So it's our immaturity as humans that causes us to show up in marriage.
And that's where that full accountability comes in, right? Because you can only control yourself. So taking responsibility for your actions. And a friend of mine calls it moving your chess piece, which means like breaking the pattern, understanding what's going on, and then making a different choice consciously, a better choice, rather than just the default pattern that you just have been through. But it's hard to break that because it's subconsciously wired, I think, into people. It is for me. I'll just speak for me, not all people. But
it is.
For me, that's what I had to break. Like, I had to notice that we're going through the same thing we always go through. And I had to recognize it for what it was in the moment, and then be like, wait, I have a choice right here.
Yeah, wonderful. No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's about it. When I talk to guys about this message, because this is kind of my message to the world, and when I explain this to guys, their first reaction is like, "That's messed up. I'm not taking 100% responsibility. What about her? She needs to do something. When is she going to do something?" And it's funny how that's our initial reaction. What most guys miss is that this is the most empowering message in the world. Because if everything is my responsibility, then I'm simultaneously empowered to make everything successful. I don't need my wife I don't have to wait for my wife to show up right. I don't need my wife to be nice to me. I don't need my wife to do X, Y, and Z. I have assumed responsibility to create an environment where that just exists.
Exactly. That's being outcome focused versus process focused. I think we talk about that in shooting all the time.
Okay.
You know, if all you care about is the outcome on the target, you're not focused on the process to get there, you'll never achieve what you want to achieve if you're not in the moment and staying in the process of
that is so good
of what's going on.
I love that. That's a great analogy for shooting. That's exactly right. So what happens in marriage, a lot of guys are outcome focused.
Right.
Like, I want my wife to have sex with me more. And they miss the most important thing of like, well, who do you need to become for that just to naturally happen? And so when guys adopt the leadership mindset that we teach in Black Belt Husband, that's the new mindset. That's the MO. It's like, okay, cool. We'll become the kind of guy where your wife just naturally wants to have sex with you because you're like a prize. You know, so it's like make that the journey instead of like, how can I get this thing? Because if you get that thing and you miss the process, then you're kind of doomed. And
you never transform. You never change.
You're never transforming. Yes.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. Have you ever heard of Eddie Penny?
I have. Yeah.
I watched him on the Sean Ryan show like 3 years ago or something. It was like a 4-hour interview, and it was so compelling to watch. This like Dev Gru guy, this tough dude, like just be so brutally honest and vulnerable and authentic on this show, and talk about his experience, you know, of how he had his identity tied into the military for so long, which made total sense, but just blew up everything around him in the process, his marriage, his kids, everything, and how he came to, you know, a fork in the road and had a humbling moment, a humbling weekend. And the humility that he showed, you know, just even talking about that was just, I'd never seen a guy, like a tough guy, like show up like that before. And I was just like amazed, and I wanted to send it to like everybody in the world, like, as, you know, as a role model, as a, hey, this can happen, you know, and here's what comes from that. Here's the outcome that you get. From making those different choices and humbling yourself and being open-minded to new possibilities. It was just remarkable. And, you know, the dude's doing a ton of great work now, you know? He's really transformed his life. So that was what I was thinking of.
And so let me ask you a question real quick. So as a woman, you didn't watch that and you weren't like, ooh, that's kind of gross. He's like weak. You didn't have that thought at all, right?
No, it was like seeing an elk in the mountains or something. I was just like, oh my God, that exists. That exists. Like that's deep down inside every manly man in the world. Like, that's possible. It was like showing what was possible. And it was just like, it was fascinating and captivating and heart-wrenching and all these adjectives. Yeah.
Yeah. And I ask you that question because a lot of guys think that they're afraid to show up in life that way because they're afraid that their woman or even other guys are going to judge them or perceive them as being weak. But, and it's like, that's not your experience. That wouldn't be my experience. I mean, when I see a friend of mine in that state, I just want to give you a hug and be with you. It doesn't turn me away from you. It turns me towards you.
Yeah, that's the human experience. To deny that those feelings exist, to deny that those thoughts exist is just denying the truth. Exactly. Is all it is. Yeah, and so right. If you've been listening to Defenders Live and something in you knows it's time to go deeper, not just in your training, but in your life, become a paid subscriber of Defenders Live. Each month we meet for a live group call, having real conversations about physical growth, emotional discipline, and spiritual strength. You'll be part of a growing community of people just like you, committed to becoming true defenders of life and of their families. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, doing the work, and not doing it alone. So go to defenders-live.com and become a paid subscriber and take your next step toward becoming the kind of defender this world desperately needs. Okay, let's switch gears to, because this is one of the things I want to make sure that I ask you before we have to leave. I want you to unpack this controversial idea of being the rock in the relationship. You push back on this advice about being the rock. Why is that? And what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. So when I hear people talk about being the rock, what I think most people mean, or the way that most guys are going to interpret that, is that to be the rock means to be available and be there for your wife and be there for your family in such a way that that you deny yourself. Okay, so it's really about like self-denial. And although some self-denial is essential for a successful relationship, this kind of self-denial about being the rock, what I hear a lot, is kind of a slow suicide. And the reason that we can't just take on that mindset of being the rock with such an extreme form of self-denial is that eventually we'll crack. Eventually we will break. Eventually we will get filled with a mountain of resentment and kind of like jettison out. And this is like, I over the years, I work with a lot of guys that have like pretty extreme kind of like midlife crises, like as we would kind of understand them, right? They, think about the typical kind of wealthy 50-year-old guy, leaves his wife, has an affair. He's with a 30-year-old and, buys a yellow Ferrari. It's like, well, why did that guy do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why he did that. But one of the reasons why he did that, which is it's a common denominator amongst all midlife crises, is that guy was the rock. That guy spent his life being the rock. And he lived in so much self-denial for so long that eventually it kind of just like broke. And so what I talk a lot about is that guys need to learn, and guys are just kind of, we're just taught this from a very early age. We're kind of enculturated with this. Guys need to learn how to be selfish in a really healthy way. And most guys are not good at that. Most guys are taught like how to be very sacrificial, how to be very giving. It's honoring to give yourself to other people. And again, all that is true. There's a lot of cool character qualities and that kind of thinking, but guys don't know how to find balance with it. They don't know how to like be that way, but then also be like, okay, well, I have needs too.
Yeah.
And so whenever I hear a guy tell me that he's the rock for his family, I'm like, oh no, this is probably going to end well. Or you're super depressed and you're just hiding it really well.
I think women struggle with that to some degree as well.
Women struggle with it with parenting a lot too, like with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like women can be like, especially moms with, especially young kids, moms with young kids can be so sacrificial to their own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't, it just doesn't end well.
What can wives do if you are married to a big, tough, manly man?
Mm-hmm.
What can wives do? I guess what can wives work on maybe that would help their husbands? Or I don't know. I don't know. You know better than I do. I'm just trying to think, like, if there's women watching this, right, that are also have husbands and they know their husbands are struggling, but they know their husbands aren't going to talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there anything that the wives can do to help them? Or is that the man's work?
It really is the man's work. I mean, if I could give like a magic prescription to women that would help men, I would do it. But, you know, unfortunately, that it's like, I was actually thinking a lot about this today. I wasn't thinking we were going to talk about this, but unfortunately, you know, if you look at like human beings are such fascinating people because we will do just about anything to avoid changing. Or sorry, we will do anything to not change. Okay, like we will wait till the bitter end. Okay,
Yeah.
think about all the like stereotypes, right? Like, you know, we will wait till the quadruple bypass surgery to change our diet. We will wait till, you know, we're in financial ruin before we decide that we need to get a savings plan. And
pain has to be high, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Marriage is the same way.
Yeah.
Marriage is the same
Health
way.
is the same way. Fitness is the same. I mean, yeah, you name it. That's human nature.
It's human nature. I mean, maybe shooting has some aspect to that because maybe it takes somebody getting like robbed or, you know, before they're like, I need to get a gun and like learn how to protect myself. Or I don't know. I mean, sometimes it could be something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And marriage is like that too. And so like, so what I like try to encourage women to do is like without being a nag, because nagging is not a motivating like force, without being a nag, put pressure on your husband to up level. Okay. Because that's where the change is going to come from. It's like, if you really want your husband to change, it's going to come from loving pressure. Loving pressure, not nagging pressure, not condemning pressure, not shaming pressure, but loving pressure. It's like, hey, I love you, I love us, and you need to do something different.
What if the wife steps up her game in a loving way and starts showing up differently?
That is also a great way to do it. There's like a role modeling aspect. The problem with, I mean, it's not a problem. Sometimes that works. Most times that won't work because guys need guy role models for that kind of thing. Like most guys aren't going to look at their wives and be like, wow, like I want to be like you. Right. It's just a male. It's like male psychology, female psychology. It's not going to really work that way. So, I mean, it's great if women do that. Sometimes that can be inspiring and motivating to guys. But what usually moves the needle in marriage is when women say, hey, this doesn't work anymore and you need to do something different. And I love you enough to tell you that.
So you're saying honesty is really wise.
Honesty is the blue belt chapter of Black Belt.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because it's like, it's like sometimes we will wait till the bitter end until we're like, oh my gosh, I have to do something different.
Yeah, well, that's when the truth stares you in the face and you can't deny it anymore. That's really what it amounts to, you know, and you can be honest with your spouse, but not honest with yourself and not even realize you're lying to yourself until you really, you know, take a hard look at it. Yeah,
totally. And there's denial is true denial, like in the truest form is like a subconscious defense mechanism, and people will be in denial for a long time until someone kind of rattles them and says, you need to get out of denial. This does not work anymore. You know, it's like the doctor, it's like, you know, there's always that one doctor where the guy goes to do his physical, and there's one doctor that's brave enough to be like, dude, you're fat and you're going to die if you don't make a serious change. And hopefully that jars that person. Hopefully it offends that person enough through love that they're like, okay, I really need to do something different.
Have you ever had to do that with somebody?
That is kind of what I do, like on a daily basis.
So you are the doctor.
I am that guy. Yes, I am that guy. Filled with love, but filled with a dedication to help people, not just let people die of their fatness.
Right. Yeah. So you say that there are two silent marriage killers. You say the first one is apathy and the second one is lack of emotional connection.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are kind of wired for men and women specifically. So what usually happens in a relationship is that a guy's inability to understand how to connect on an emotional level creates apathy in the woman, and then that apathy in the woman is what kills the relationship. So they're kind of like, they're specifically applicable to each person. 70% of all divorces are initiated by women because women are starving for emotional connection, but the guy doesn't know how to do it, doesn't know how to give it. And then the woman becomes apathetic, typically over a period of many years. And then eventually she files for divorce.
Okay. So for the guy listening to this right now, who just heard you talk about emotional connection and got a weird, yucky feeling in his belly.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And what are the first steps towards that? Because just saying that even.
Yeah. It's kind of like a lot of guys are going to be like, huh, that's weird.
Like, what are you even talking about? And
okay, perfect.
I'll do that.
Exactly. Okay. Well, reach out to me and I'll show you how to do it. Okay. But this is the thing that guys listening need to understand. First of all, the backdrop to that whole conversation is understanding that men and women are different. Okay. Men have penises, women have vaginas, right? You have more estrogen. I have more testosterone. We're different just across the board. Of course, there's similarities. There's massive differences too. And one of those massive differences is our psychology. Women say like 2,000 more words a day than men. Like there's so many differences in our psychology. And for the guy listening to this, okay, it's like, can I just be frank? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, dude, you're a dumbass. You've never taken a class on female psychology. I know that because there is no class out there. I never took the class either. And I didn't understand women. Mm-hmm. And so what people do is they're like, well, why does she need that? And it's like, well, why does she have breasts? Because she's different. And when we can like unlock this as a true principle of like men and women are very different. And I mostly work with men. So my whole like thing is like really kind of speaking to guys, but there's a bunch of women out there that teach women about male psychology too. It's like guys have never taken a class in female psychology. So they don't know like what women need. They don't have any idea. They're like, oh, well, like I go to work and I make a really good living and like I'm a good dad. Is that what you need? When they're like, no, like that was like the kindergarten version of what I need. But like I'm in junior high and high school now. I need something totally different. And the guy's like, well, I don't know what it is. You're too needy. And then here comes the apathy. Mm-hmm. Okay. So women are just more, women connect. The whole thing is like women, it's the wiring in the female brain is to connect on an emotional level. That's why women love to talk to each other and talk about their feelings and talk about all this stuff. This is how women feel close and connected. And this goes way back to there's an evolutionary reason to this. There's an anthropological reason to this. Okay, think about it like this. This is what I love to tell guys. If you just go back in time to 150 years ago, okay, or 200 years ago in time, over the course of however long we've been on this earth, if a woman got impregnated by the wrong guy, it meant literally life or death. Literally. It meant life or death for her and for her offspring. Okay. We forget about that in our very modern, 2026 culture. The reason that truth matters is because women are hyper vigilant in assessing whether or not they feel safe with their man.
Totally agree.
Okay. It's encoded into their DNA. It's supposed to be that way because throughout history, if that part of their brain didn't work, they would have died. And so this whole concept of emotional safety, guys don't understand it because it doesn't apply to us. We don't have to worry about that. We can impregnate women as much as none of it matters. It's just whether it's fair, it doesn't matter. It's just the way it is. It's in our DNA. So when women don't feel emotionally safe, not physically, because most people, I'm not talking about like the people that I'm talking to are not hitting their wives.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a whole different topic and a subject. I'm talking about guys who don't know how to connect on an emotional level. It triggers a sense of I'm not safe because that's the way that the female brain is wired. And then over time, women go into self-preservation, protection mode, which looks like apathy.
And resentment.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about, so I think guys get it now that this is important. But I guess what I want to say from a woman's perspective, and I was going to say, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's my perspective. So
sure. Yeah.
Is the emotional connection doesn't come from the man necessarily even sharing his feelings at first. The whole idea is, am I being heard? Yes. Are you really understanding what I'm saying? Could you repeat it back to me? That's really all it is. It's like that simple.
Yes.
That's it.
But you're absolutely right. And guys don't know how to do that.
It's a skill you could learn.
It's a skill because
I've had to learn it.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah.
I have too. And like I said in the beginning, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I didn't come from a family where anybody asked me how I felt. I didn't come from a family where anybody wanted to know how my day was.
Yeah.
So that wasn't role modeled for me. It's not natural for me to do that with other people.
But it is teachable. It's very much teachable.
So teachable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me plug your website here while I'm thinking about it, because I want you guys to go. He has a really good website, QuentinHafner.com, for those of you that are listening and not watching. And then I put your Instagram and Facebook on the social media here. Is that okay?
Perfect. Yeah. Great.
Okay. Yeah. Go check out his website and reach out to him, because what you offer is I just think is so needed. I'm not a guy, but I know lots of guys, and the kind of guys.
You live in a world of guys, don't you?
Yeah.
I figured. Yeah.
And the kind of guys that don't go to therapy,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So it's refreshing to have you on here and to maybe just crack the door open for some people that are listening that might not have considered this before, or didn't think it was important, but maybe silently behind closed doors, they are suffering right now.
Yes. And it's like, hey guys, we see you. Don't hide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's not going to get any better on its own.
No, it's not. And just remember too, like even the word therapy, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like hiring a plumber or a dentist, right? I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes. And I think the actual word therapy it's like, we just got to come up with a better word, because the word itself has been totally just like, it's just been ruined. It's been ruined by a certain group of people those guys don't want to associate with. And so whatever word you want to call it, you could call it coaching, you could call it mentoring, whatever you want to call it. Like I have a lot of clients that are like, I'm never going to call you my therapist. I'm going to call you my coach. I'm like, dude, you could call me Aunt Shirley. I don't care. Whatever works for you and whatever makes you happy. It's all good.
So Black Belt Husband is the book.
That's the book, yeah.
Can people get that on your website, or they need to go to Amazon? Or?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, it's not on my website. You got to get it on Amazon. Yeah, there's an Audible version and a hard copy version. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any parting words for whoever's listening?
Parting words. Well, my parting words are this. Life is all about relationships. It's, it's a relationship with yourself, others, and hopefully God for people. And to go through life and not have your relationships firing on all cylinders is really like kind of not a fun journey to go through life. And so I just encourage people to, make it a priority, and and not for any other reason, but then it's a gift that you would just give yourself, because life feels really good when your relationships are clicking.
Totally agree. They're a huge blessing, a huge blessing. Yeah. Well, I didn't get a chance. We have just a limited amount of time today, so I didn't get a chance to go down the whole faith rabbit hole, but I would love to explore that with you at some point. Okay, that's been a pivotal part of a shift in my life. So
nice. Okay. Yeah, I would love
maybe at some point we could dig into that.
Yeah. Everything that I'm saying today is coming from the backdrop of Christian faith. Yeah. So if you ever want to have that conversation more explicitly, we could connect all those dots.
Yes, we should do that.
But also, just so you know too, like I do not market myself as a Christian, because I actually love working with a secular audience. I love working with people that hate God.
Yeah.
It's my calling, so that's why I'm not super explicit about it. But just for you and I, since you brought it up, everything that I'm saying comes from that backdrop.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I wish we had more time, but hopefully I'll get more time with you in the future. If you guys want to see Quentin back on the show, put in the comments. If there's a particular topic you'd like us to explore, let us know. I'm sure he'd be up for it. Just so much information and experience that we barely even had time to even touch the surface of. But it was a very good conversation. Thank you for your time today.